little yarnivores and spiderettes, Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I'm going to show you how to knit this extremely easy, lovely, and lacy stitch that it is called the Chinese Waves stitch. And as you can see, it creates what looks like little waves, and it's lacy and it's lovely, and it's only a 4-row repeat, which is, of course, awesome. And 2 of those rows are just knit stitches out of the 4. So it's really easy, and I'm going to show you how to identify where you're at in the pattern so you won't get lost. It's so easy, and I just couldn't wait to show you. And so this is a little swatch that I worked up using Ice Cream by Lion Brand. No, I'm not sponsored, but I thought that the colorway of this lent itself perfectly for just even the name of this stitch. Also, the weight of this yarn is a weight of 3, I believe, and now the yarn calls for a size 5 needle. These are size 10s, and I like for my stitches to be looser, and also it has such a beautiful lacy effect to it. So if you want to duplicate the results, go up several sizes larger than what your yarn recommends. Typically for a weight of 4 worsted weight yarn, you would use size 8s or larger. If I were using a typical worsted weight yarn, I would probably use at least a 10, probably bigger, okay, if you want to get the same sort of drapey effect. And it is also reversible, which is absolutely gorgeous. This would make a lovely scarf, a wrap, a blanket, what have you. And so without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so to begin with, what you're going to need to do is to cast on an odd number of stitches. Now for this piece, I cast on 21. You can cast on however many you want, just as long as it's an odd number. And for those of you that are not fluent with casting on, that's okay. I'm going to put a link in the description box down below on a link for casting on. And so after casting on an odd number of stitches, your first row is going to be quite simply just knit them. Just knit all of the stitches all the way across. No big deal. Real simple. So the first and the third rows are going to be just knit stitches. Real easy. And that is sort of the break in the pattern where you really don't have to concentrate or agonize or think about, oh my gosh, what am I doing in this pattern? And it's always nice to have a little bit of a break. So, that is always advantageous. And so you just knit your way across to the end of the other side. No big deal. And yes, I know you probably know how to do the knit stitch, but hey, doing this anyway because I love spending time with you guys. You guys are great. And so we're just going to go all the way to the other side, and then I'm going to show you row number 2. And rows 2 and 4 are essentially the same with a slightly different beginning and end to those rows. But in spite of that, it is actually quite easy to identify where you're at in your pattern, so you don't need to necessarily keep track of, did I just do row 2 or row 4? It's really not that hard, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I figured out after I had built up a bit of a swatch as far as identifying where I was within the pattern, because, to carry around a little notebook or a counter is not always the easiest thing to do. So that was row 1. How easy is that? All right, so I'm going to show you row 2. Alrighty, so for row number 2, we are going to quite simply do alternates of knits and slips. Alright, so I'm going to start row 2 by knitting your first stitch. Easy enough. Then the next stitch, you're going to slip as if to knit. So going in as if to knit the stitch, like so. You just slip that stitch right off. Then going back to knit, and then slip the next one, then knit, then slip, and knit, and slip, knit, slip, all the way across. It's so easy, this pattern, really. And if you ever get lost, what you can quite easily do, I'm going to show you, is you can turn your work and you can see the little knit bumps. You see, right here, there's no bump. Right here, there is one. So every other stitch, you can see that there's a little knit bump. And that is a great way of identifying where you're at for that current row. Me personally, I find that it helps if I actually say with each stitch, knit, and then slip, and knit, and slip. You know, you get into very much a sort of meditative rhythm with it, which I rather like. I find it very calming. And so you just work all the way to the end, alternating your slips with your knits. And then when you do get to the end, you end with a knit stitch. So I'm slipping and then knit that last stitch. All right. And also, if you're unsure, did I just do a knit row or a knit slip row? As you can see on the back here, you know, you have where they're sort of paired together. That means that you just did a knit slip row. Also, you can see the difference where you slipped and where you knitted, because you have these little pearl bumps here, so to speak. And that is an indication, oh, I just did a row with knits and slips. So the next row that I'm going to do, I'm going to spare you, and I'm just going to do the entire row, just knit stitches for row 3, and then I'm going to show you row 4. Alright, so I did row 3 already, where I just knitted all of the stitches, and as you can see, all of my stitches are not grouped together in pairs, and that all of the stitches have a little purl bump in front of each one, and that's how you can identify, oh, I just did an entire row of knitting, in case if you put down your work or you forgot, what have you. It's okay. So now we're doing row 4, which is a slight variation of row 2. Now on row 2, we did a knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip. Right now for row 4, we're going to start with 2 knit stitches, okay? And then we're going to do a slip. And so how you can actually identify where you're at in the pattern, after you work up a bit of a swatch, you can see going down, not to this row, but the one right below it, you can see where your sort of lace holes are, where you did your slip stitching. So right here, we have a hole, as you can see. So that, excuse me, that actually signifies that right up here, we need to do a slip stitch. And so this is going to be row 4. And as you work this pattern more so, it'll make more sense. You know, it does take a little bit of practice like anything else, being able to identify your stitches. So for row 4, like I said, we're going to start by knitting 2, and then alternating our slip stitches with our knit stitches. So slip and knit and, oops, I almost did a knit. Nope, I have to slip that stitch. See, it's easy to get distracted, and I'm very easily distracted. So I just did a slip, so now I knit and slip and knit, slip and knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, and then for row 4, you always knit the last 2 stitches as you would normally knit stitches. You just knit those last 2, and that is a full repeat. And so I'm going to re-knit. See, we've got our pairings. So now this row that we're going to do is going to be row 1, and it's going to be just all knit stitches because we have our pairings here, okay? And so then I'm going to show you how to identify row 2. I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I did another complete knit row, and you can see all my little purl bumps, and the stitches are not paired together. And so then, again, to identify the row as as row 2, pardon me, if you scooch down just a little bit, not into this row here, but the one just below it, you can see where the holes are, okay? So you can see right here, right in here, we have a hole. And so if you go up and you see the stitch right here, that is the stitch that we need to slip. So basically you're just going vertically up, and that's the second stitch on the needle. So that is the one that we would need to slip. So again, with row 2, you would knit just 1 and then slip the next. So once you understand where you're at in the pattern, you can put down your project and you can pick it up and start again confident, knowing where you're at, which is a huge bonus. And I was just about to knit when I was supposed to slip, wasn't I? There we go. So just remember on rows 2 and 4, the only difference is starting and ending. You know, on rows 2, you would knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, etc., etc. And then on rows 4, you start and end with 2 knit stitches. And that's really all there is to it. It's that simple. And I'm so delighted to be able to share this with you because it looks so much more complicated than it really is. And of course, the beauty is that on rows 1 and 3, you get a little bit of a break. You know, you can just, knit across and not have to worry. And those are the fun rows, to me anyway. I don't know. How about you? And so listen, I really do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial because I love doing them oh so much. And if you did, please hit the little thumbs up button down below because your support means ever so much to me. And also, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so as well because I try to post videos as often as I can, and that way you'll be in the know. See, right now I'm just ending with one knit stitch. And it's really as easy as that. And also, if you have any questions or comments, what have you, please do so in the comments section down below. I love hearing from you. And so listen, my dears, until next time, I want you all to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.